Welcome to episode 3 of the Seneca College Creative Advertising Program series AdTLC, where we're all about thinking, learning, and connecting. These webcasts have been part of the Creative Advertising Program's year-end celebration of future young, inspired, and motivated Adlanders. This will all coincide and end on April 29th with Ad Day at our Markham campus. That day, we will be hosting 2 keynote speakers, Creative Director and Developer and Voice of AdTeachings.com, Suzanne Pope, and Leslie M. of Combustion. Leslie is an uber-talented training professional who has helped agencies and companies how to deliver creativity in a much smarter, faster, and more developed way to answer business challenges. Follow the link that we will be tweeting out tonight to register for Ad Day on April 29th. We have an amazing time bringing you this series, which we are planning to continue in the future. So also be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates. Throughout the live feed, please tweet in any questions that you may have by using the hashtag AdTLC. We have Matt Lee in the studio following the feed, and we will go to him for some updates from time to time. For the next 60 minutes, and probably a little likely to go a little bit longer tonight, we're privileged to have an awesome guest with us. This episode will feature a true creative juggernaut, the CEO, the Chief Creative Officer of Burnett Toronto, Judy John. Judy began her career as a copywriter, honing her skills at small independent shops, large multinationals, and even running her own company. Judy joined Burnett Toronto in 1999 as Chief Creative Officer, and in March 2011, she added the title of CEO to her name. Under Judy's direction, Burnett Toronto has not only won global recognition at every major award show for its work, but has also established a model that is truly driven by solving client problems with strong sound creativity that has not only changed, but has defined advertising communication. Award highlights include the first ever D&AD Black Pencil in the digital category, and also becoming the most awarded Canadian agency at the One Show in 2011 and 2012. The agency has also won the Advertising Design Club of Canada's inaugural Scarlet Letter Awards as both Advertising Agency of the Year in 2011 and the Design Agency of the Year in 2012. I've been preaching the good gospel of the great creative inspiration that's been coming out of Burnett to my students for quite a while. The first class that I ever meet students, I actually give them one of the Burnett Big Black Pencils. Leo's inspiration to all creatives. It is the one that he used himself, one where he felt big ideas come from big pencils. The pencil contains no eraser, because no idea should ever be left behind or lost in the translation. Please welcome Judy to AdTLC. That was a mouthful. I should have done that off the cuff instead of...
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So let's start out with the obvious first question. How did you find yourself getting into this business, and what was the moment that you really felt that this was for you?
Well, I think it happened at a couple different times, and I don't think many people know this story, but in high school, I ran for student council, and I was the publicity director. So we had the advertising, we had to do all the ads for the school dances and bake sales and things like that. And I ran for student council mostly because I wanted to get out of class, but it also provided an opportunity I had a small staff of I think 4 or 6 people, and we made posters and things like that. And it was interesting. It wasn't what I ended up studying in university. My first couple years I studied film and theater. And then, I don't know, there was something in the back of my mind that I wanted to get into advertising. So after 2 years of university, I dropped out and went to college.
And so what was it about that drew you to advertising? I mean, obviously the high school part, but that moment in university where
you know what? I love television. So I spent a lot of time watching TV, and I did my homework in front of TV. I ate in front of TV. I still call television the friend. Like when I get home, I might spend some time with the friend. So I have a really fond attachment with television.
So when you were going through this stage of developing and going into advertising. Did you have a mentor that sort of helped you guide you towards your career or towards becoming the writer? And
I think I had many different mentors over the years, and I was really lucky early on to do my internship at Chiat Day. And Chiat Day at the time was the hottest agency in the country. I think they won Agency of the Year 2 years in a row. And there were some amazing copywriters, and the person who gave me my internship is Joe Alexander, and he's the creative director at Martin Agency, and he's so good. He's just genius, and his writing it's so insightful and so inspired. And I remember watching him photocopy his portfolio in the copy room, and it was just like one genius ad after another, and headlines that aren't puns but are really just great insight.
Right.
And that's where it started.
So was there any piece of advice that somebody gave you that helped you even get, to break in faster or to break in to the right place?
Yeah, there was a team that took me under their wing at Chiat Day, Jeff Odiorn and Steve St. Clair, and they, a couple pieces of advice from me was work on your book. Like he said, you're going to write about 100 ads, and you're going to show your book around, and you're going to take out 99 of them, and you're going to keep one, and then you're going to do another 100. And it's the sheer volume of it where you're really crafting your skill. But also, he said, be a student of life. Like, look around, be aware, look at what people are doing and why they're doing those things, and those are the insights that you draw from.
Draw from the human around you.
Yes.
Yeah. In my intro, I certainly defined Leo Burnett's success now as being creative driven. Mm-hmm. Can you talk about how that process came about? Like, you're being brought in as chief creative officer and bringing that voice, because for the longest time, the multinationals, the Leo Burnetts, the BBDOs, the DDBs, they kind of sat, creative is what we delivered to our clients, but it was really pushed by billings and strategy, research and that. But the creative that's coming out of Leo is like the drive there. So can you talk to that?
Yeah, I think that Burnett has always been a creative agency. And, even before I got there, when Elizabeth and Lorraine and Jeff Finkler, and, there's some really great work that came out of there for Fruit of the Loom and Special K, and there were some really great things that happened. So there was, there's already a desire that they want creativity, and it is it's what we do. I think that a lot of what I bring to Burnett is based on my experience. I spent a lot of time in small agencies, worked at Taxi when there was 7 people, and at Jeffrey Roche and Partners at the time. And it's that small agency that I really gravitate to because I really love the hands-on, and everybody jumps in, everybody helps out. And then I've also worked at big agencies. I've worked at BBDO and Ogilvy, and there's a great thing within large agencies, which is process. It's not the Wild West. It isn't like, oh, it's chaos. It's more process driven. So what I've tried to do at Burnett is bring those two worlds together of hands-on, everybody in. Like, if we got a problem to solve, you just go grab the right people in the hallway, or we assign the right team of people to that. And it's just working together, and but with good process. And that's how we do it.
Can you talk about your own creative process? Like, how do you solve problems? Like, what do you like? Is there? Yeah, I know it's probably one of the toughest questions we may ask tonight. Like, how do you approach ideas? What's the first thing? You get that brief, and you have to you establish that brief.
I spend a lot of time on the brief. It's the key. Like, the strategy leads you down certain paths. So strategy has to be really clear. And sometimes people say, oh, we like our strategy really broad and leave it wide open. And I say, that's terrible. It's like, I call that wandering around in the forest looking for the unicorn. Like, when the brief is too big, we send the creatives off, and they're just like, I don't know, it could be this, it's this, and this, and there's no point of view. The best strategy leads you to a point, and usually when I'm reading the strategy, I can see what the solution kind of looks like. And if you read the brief and you have no idea what you're doing, that's when the brief's got to go back.
Right.
So it really starts there. And then And then I just go, I read magazines, or I'll start looking at reference, or I'll look at annuals of, I like to ground myself in what's been done in this category. So, where are the competitors going? What kind of insights have they tapped into? Is for inspiration, but also to keep me away from there.
Right.
Because, as creatives, we always want to do something new and fresh. And then, I'll go for a walk. I'll talk to people who are, if whatever I'm working on, if I see you drinking smart water, I'll go, why do you drink that? What's good about it? So I just talk to people who are into that thing, and it's the curiosity.
Yeah. Well, and I love that, because one of the things that I preach is that you have to have an insatiable curiosity for the success in this business. I mean, it's rooted in that there's never a moment that you're not looking at something and asking why.
Yeah.
That's the beauty part. One of the things I've heard about, one of your key pushes at Burnett.
Might be a lie.
Well, it's come down a couple of times now.
Okay.
That you really kind of push the ideas to be about acts, not ads. That So can you explain that a bit, and to get your creative teams to buy into that?
Acts, not ads. It's more about creating a two-way conversation, and that's the way advertising should be anyway. It's not the old school where we're just pushing out a message and saying, here it is. The act part is involving people in our conversation. It's making sure that they're interested in it. So even when we get a simple brief for outdoor, James Reddy's a great example. Do some billboards and say, buy our beer, for example. Well, you can do that, but the interesting thing is, how do you get people to really care? And that's the acts part. How do we get them to engage with us and have a conversation with us, or look us up, or recommend us to a friend? And that's the point of view we try to take on pretty much everything we do. And
so it's very easy for the creatives to then start to think beyond just a push, like a simple idea.
Beyond us selling something.
Yeah. Many of the pieces that Burnett works on, and certainly from your end, are really strongly based in a good story. Like there seems to be a great story behind everything.
Yeah.
So how does somebody develop strong storytelling skills? Is it our audience is obviously going to be student based, or at least that's how we're selling this. So that's a $1 million question as well. But
yeah, it's funny because we were talking about that at work today, where sometimes we'll see an idea and we'll say, there's the beginning of an idea there, and then we'll push on it about how to execute it and things like that. And then depending on the team, they'll go away. One team will go away and bring back exactly what they think you asked for. And they'll say, here it is, and they'll think they'll solved it. And to a certain extent, they have. But when you look at it, you don't feel anything. And I think I guess that's what makes it subjective, creativity subjective. But I think you should feel something. It isn't just that you've intellectually solved it. It's like 1 + 1 = 2. The really great teams take your feedback and go in unexpected ways, but it's the insight that they bring to it. It's the, why do I care? Or, wow, you've made me think about that product or that insight in a very different way. And that's the storytelling. You can see when creatives come, when they write headlines, for example, they come up with ads and it's their first idea, because everybody would have gone there.
Right.
You know it, the obvious. And you go, yeah, it's not wrong. It's hard to argue because you go, that's not wrong, but it's not good.
Yeah.
And it's that push for a deeper insight or something that no one has come up with. That's the genius. Yeah. And it's rare, but that's what we aspire to.
Yeah. That's our lead. I was privileged to hear you speak at Advertising Week Toronto this past February at the Leading Social Change conversation on how we could do work that matters. So I want to take a look at a couple of campaigns that Burnett's done for raising the roof. And the first one we're going to take a look at is called Stickers.
Okay.
Raising the Roof is a homeless awareness organization. Every winter for the past 16 years, they've sold winter hats to raise money. While people know about the hats, they wonder if the money is actually making a difference. In 2013, we addressed the concern by marking places where money from raising the roof hats have helped the homeless get off the street. Bright and celebratory messages started popping up in unexpected spots across the city, spots where people usually see the homeless. In doorways, this message appeared. Super job! There's no scared homeless teens sleeping in this doorway, thanks to those who bought Raising the Roof hats. Buy yours and help the homeless. By sidewalks. Great work! There's one less homeless woman begging for money on this street, thanks to those who bought Raising the Roof hats. And other location-specific messages in stairwells, on garbage bins, park benches, abandoned buildings, bus shelters, and alleyways. Marking the points where hat sales have helped the homeless get off the street showed people that every hat sold does add up to major change. The 2013 goal was to sell 40,000 hats. We met that goal with 9 months remaining. Raising the Roof street posters, thanking those who helped the homeless.
The results speak for themselves, the success and the numbers that are quoted in that. What was the brief and the core of the strategy behind that you took to your creatives?
Well, the whole brief is we do this hat campaign every year, and it is to how do you make people care? It's hard for every organization. We're all fighting for the same dollar. People only allocate so much money to causes. And how do you make them care about your cause? And one of the insights we always find is people, for every cause, they don't know where the money goes, or does their money really work? And I think that's definitely one of the concerns when people support something like Raising the Roof. Does my money really work? You want to make sure that you're making a difference, and so part of the campaign was doing that. And
the stickers certainly spoke to, like, somebody got a job that was once sitting here and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
How did the public respond to those pieces? I mean, they were stuck down, and did they read them? Did you have a chance to observe individual opinion on that? Was there?
No, well, I don't know. We haven't asked around about that, but usually you do see, like, even when we're putting them up, they're so, they really pop out. People read them, they'll stop. Like, I would stop and look at that and go, huh, and the whole thing is about changing the perception.
Right. Does budget impact the choice of media when you work on something like this?
Of course. Always does.
Yeah, of course, but but in this case, because you are doing this for Raising the Roof, and so the less that the more they can give, then.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we definitely we try to keep our we try to be really respectful of the budget. It doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money on production when I get why you have to at times to break through, but the pure creativity is how do you do it for a tiny budget? And
should this is something that we have our students do as part of our program. We ask them to find a corporate sponsor. And then pick a cause that is relevant to the Canadian public. And, like for an example, we would have chapters potentially underwriting a campaign for mothers to learn how to read, immigrant mothers to learn how to read.
Yeah.
Should agencies work with their clients to start to develop more social change type messages, like set aside a portion of their ad budgets annually to make a social change? I know that P&G did some things with Pampers where there's a buyback on purchase and that.
Yeah, I think a lot of, most of our clients already do that.
Right.
You might not hear about them because some of that is in the background, but I think that a lot of companies are doing that.
But to come out with a campaign that would be a very large, loud voice, or is it that they prefer to stay back?
It depends on the strategy. Right. It depends on their involvement with that charity. Yeah, it's different levels of how much they want the public to know, and sometimes that seems self-serving,
right? And
sometimes it doesn't. It depends on the relationship.
And the public, if they see it as self-serving, then
exactly,
can bite back on you.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to look at another Raising the Roof piece that again was to show how they could get more out of their contribution and learn where their contribution gets. So let's take a look at the hat wall.
Okay.
Raising the Roof is a charity focused on creating homelessness awareness. For 16 years, they've raised donation money by selling toques, Canadian for winter hat. The biggest barrier stopping people from buying a hat was not the $10 price tag, but the fact that they were unsure exactly where the money goes, how it is used, and who it will help. And above this, hats just don't evoke emotional connections. In 2018, for hat sales to reach the necessary level, we repackaged them and gave them a purpose. This hat will help a homeless woman find a job. This hat will help a homeless man eat tonight. This hat will help connect a homeless teen with a mentor, and more. Now people weren't buying hats, they were buying solutions. An outdoor store was then set up in one of the city's busiest areas. There, people could buy a hat that represents a purpose they connect with, turning buy a hat into buy a shower, second chance, warm bed, or safe place for a homeless person to sleep helped Raising the Roof reach their 2013 sales goal of 40,000 hats 9 months early. Repackaging, letting people know every hat does make a difference.
So I love the simplicity of the design. I mean, the package and the typography and the display unit in that. So I want to talk to you about two things, is the success and result of being able to now sell directly, because really a lot of it was driven to the website. You order your hat and you got it back.
Yeah.
But this was more like hands-on, so I want you to talk to that. But I also want to get into a bit of a conversation on the idea of how important design is today in this communication process, like graphic design and that, the visual side.
Right. First question. Yes, it was, for the launch of the hat campaign, the two campaign, they were, our clients said, oh, we got this. We secured some space at Dundas Square, and we're going to sell some hats there. And we thought, that's amazing. If you can do something down at Dundas Square and the traffic you get and the exposure you can get, we should do something really, really striking there. And the guys came up with this idea because, we said, how do you create something that, it was going to be just a little booth, a little tent, and, hey, do you want to buy a hat? It's like, how do you create something where people will actually stop and engage with it and then buy the hat? And, we started talking about, a lot of people might not buy a hat. I need a hat. I don't know if I'm going to buy a hat. We're not just selling the hat, and that's what repackaging was really great at. It really created context of, this is what you're really buying. You're not really buying a hat, you're buying a shower for a homeless person. You're helping them in this way. And it really brought a context to what the hat stands for. And I thought that was really, really smart.
Yeah, and it was striking visuals.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just like it would stop you, and the package really looked inviting.
Yeah.
So that goes into that side of now graphic design, like being named, design firm, agency of the
that
year.
Was amazing.
Yeah. So, it's, you were saying earlier before the show that how large your department is and how, as an agency, you're one of the biggest in Canada as far as design, or taking that on.
Yeah, I think we have one of the biggest design groups within I'll say traditional agency, even though we're non-traditional. We have a really large design department. And when I first started at Burnett, I wanted to, I thought design is the future, and you could start to see that, design was just becoming a bigger thing in furniture, and people were talking about it, and there was a lot of emphasis there, and it looked like that's where everything was going to go. It's taken a long time to build up that discipline within our agency, and you got to get your clients on board and things like that. But it is so important to what we do, and you can see it in our work. When you see our work across the board, there is a consistency of the art direction and the design of everything, that there's a reason for everything. I talk about the marriage of art and copy all the time. And if we're driving both copy and the art just as hard to tell a story, and they're both crafted, we craft the crap out of everything, it's going to be an incredible story, and it's going to be a striking story, because design is what stops you.
Yeah.
And then the words is the storytelling part, and together they're they're an incredible combination.
Yeah, it's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
And so that, the art director, when you're looking at art directors, the amount of design and craft in their books is probably really right at the top of your list when
Yes.
when you're reviewing books like
Yeah.
that. I love a piece that I wanted to just show, during the broadcast, because this stopped me dead in my tracks. Such an intelligent solve, creates a social change. It gets people talking about a subject. This was done by the Miami Ad School in Brooklyn and their teacher, Graham Douglas. So they came up with this idea of a package of Band-Aids that actually included a bone marrow kit. You're going to cut your fingers, so there's blood. One of the best ways to test you and to find your match or to provide your name into the registry is blood. And inside was actually the kit. And I think we have a couple of close-up photos that we can show what is actually inside the package. I think they cue that up in the room. But do you see clients potentially engaging their own brands into this type of thing? So like if you had a client and there was a nice way to connect them, to get a client to buy into something like that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're always trying to connect our clients. And when a really smart idea comes up like that, and it makes sense for both parties, it's like, why not?
Okay. Earlier we had a comment tweeted into us from some young talent who are building their portfolios, especially this time of year.
Yeah, there's a lot of portfolios.
There's a lot of portfolios coming at.
Yeah.
So they're, running around trying to figure execution, tactic, what's the best media. Is it better to start off truly media agnostic and get that big idea on paper?
Yeah. It is. It's all about ideas, really. And we were talking earlier about every creative director will tell you something different about what you should have in your book, and so it becomes very confusing for people just coming out of school, because it's like, who do you listen to? Somebody says, well, where's radio? You should have radio in your book, or you should have TV in your book, and I always think that you should, out of all the advice you get, you pick the agencies that you respect and the type of work that you want to do, and that's the opinion you should take, because you'll get 100 different opinions on what should go in your book. I personally look for just really great ideas, and the simplest thing is print ads. It's the easiest way to telegraph whether you get it or not.
Right.
So a couple print ads is like staple, and for a copywriter, I want to see you write. I made this mistake once for a copywriter. Beautiful book, visuals, and then a tiny line, but nice visual solves and a tiny line. And we brought him in, and he couldn't write. He couldn't write a paragraph, and I thought, I'm never going to do that again. So for writers, I want to see some writing in your book, some long copy. And then we want to see, at Burnett, we want to see some experiential stuff, like stuff on the street, stuff that draws people in. Digital is big right now,
right.
And we think everybody should have, you might not be an expert in digital, and we don't expect that, but a curiosity in it, or an understanding of what happens in that space.
And what you can do with that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're going to talk about that, I think, on the next piece. But one of the things is social media and personal engagement. Like, how does, that's playing a larger role in the picture. Do you expect writers in their books to also demonstrate the ability to communicate in social media, like write that 140-character tweet, be effectively, writing good community management? Would you like to see that in a writer's book?
I don't need to see it. I think that, but again, someone else will want to see it. And if you can demonstrate in your book that you can write, I guarantee I can get you to write 140 characters for sure. But that might be a way to break through, is to do your entire book via tweets. I mean, it's never been done. We always look for stuff that's never been done, right. So that could be really cool. So I wouldn't discount it. But
you shouldn't hang your hat on.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a great resume that was a girl when Vine came out and sort of started making noise, and about a month ago or so, and she did her entire resume in 6 seconds.
Right.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And and she got picked up. Like somebody said,
sure,
yeah, like what? Nobody else did it. You did it. So there's a proof. We're going to move on to one of your award-winning clients. You've done some amazing work for James Reddy, and it seems to have this unmatched fan base. So we're going to look first at a James Reddy piece that's the coaster swap. Or it's the coaster piece.
Coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Ready is the beer of the people, always trying to give drinkers more for their money. Because of its growing popularity, James Ready started getting listings in bars. In the overly beer branded bar environment, the only way our small brand could get noticed was through beer coasters. But beer coasters with more awesome. 50% more awesome. Coaster designs were oversized to give drinkers 50% more awesome in the form of entertainment, games, and information guys needed to make everything more awesome. Some coasters allowed drinkers to save their beer if they had to step out. Some allowed guys to save their butts with greeting cards, cards for their girlfriends and or wives that said, "Where was I last night? Your rhetorical questions are so cute." Or cards for coworkers that said, "Sorry you found out we went to the bar without you. Next time, we'll try to be more secretive." Some taught drinkers things like magic tricks and wilderness survival. Some helped drinkers pass the time with bar games like penny hockey or Guy Q tests. Some gave conversation starters and conversation enders, or beer rain checks so buddies wouldn't forget to pay you back a beer. All the coasters were perforated, so the 50% awesomer could be collected, saved, and traded. James Ready 50% awesomer beer coasters, helping JR stand out in the bar, helping get JR's personality in the hands of new drinkers, helping drinkers get more awesome for their beer dollar.
So this is a great relationship with James Ready. So where did this idea grow from, and how do you keep it fresh? Like everything, just each time, it's just like a new innovation. You know, whether it was buying a piece of the billboard.
It's hard. The bar is really high on James Ready, so we go through a lot of ideas. And this idea, James Ready was going on premise. And they wanted to, get the word out to when you're at the bar, order James Ready beer. And of course, we have like small budgets, and we don't, we're not Budweiser, and we don't get to buy a big thing, and all these giveaways and things like that. So the guys came up with this idea to do beer coasters, but let's do it in a James Ready way, because our whole thing is about, the beer of the people and giving people more. Like, expect more from us. And so, it's just a really fun idea, and apparently it was really successful.
Oh, I can see how.
Yeah. Clients are already saying, what else can we do?
Yeah, and I love the, put the little reserve tab on, and the hockey, the
Yeah.
table hockey thing.
It's just fun.
And it's again a great story that the fans of the brand are willing to participate in.
Yes.
We're going to also take a look at one more piece, which is the Facebook swap.
Mm-hmm.
James Ready is the beer of the people, always giving drinkers more for their beer dollar. In 2012, with Facebook being JR's only communication space, JR wanted to attract new drinkers to the brand's page. Here we could introduce them to JR, new brews, and other news. So we turned to our loyal fans on Facebook, asking them to help us spread the word. On November 21st, we kicked off the James Ready cover photo swap. It was simple. James Ready drinkers could use JR's cover photo space if they let us use theirs. It started with a message in our cover photo. "We'll give you this space if you give us yours." And the swapping began daily. We talked to Dave's hundreds of fans on his page. "Hey friends of Dave, what has a handlebar, isn't a bike, and lives on Dave's face?" The answer is on the James Ready Beer Facebook page. And hundreds of Dave's friends went to see JR's page to see Dave ask others to donate to his Movember mustache. The next day, we talked to John's friends and teased them with a never-before-seen photo from his wedding. His friends came to our page to see the photo of his drunk bride. The following day, Jeremy gave us his page and we gave him ours. The next day, Adam swapped with us, and so on. We talked to thousands of new drinkers through their friend's cover photo. JR became endorsed by somebody they liked. Drinkers use JR's cover photo space to talk to JR fans and promote business, spread the word about their bands or concerts, post resumes, sell things, show off their art, impress ladies, and endorse their motorcycle gang and other odd reasons. Our message not only appeared on the JR fans page, but also in the newsfeed of all his friends when he updated his cover image, making sure everyone saw the partnership between their buddy and his favorite brew. Drinkers wanted the use of JR space because it gave them extra fame, but at the same time, they wanted to help the brand they love by promoting it to friends. JR swapped with drinkers daily for 3 weeks. In that time, the campaign reached almost 6 million unique people, jumped in page shares 352%, jumped in content likes 402%, and most importantly, fans increased by 37%. At the end of the campaign, JR's community asked that we continue swapping, so the campaign continues.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, especially with the James Ready, which requires obviously somebody thinking this through on how Facebook actually works and how you can build these kind of things. I mean, Crispin did a wonderful piece with the Whopper Flame Out, I think it was called, where you the Whopper sacrifice.
So good.
And so now this role of this technologist that has to play a part in the creative team, like agencies like Droga 5, Crispin Porter Boguski, 72 and Sunny, they actually have that title, creative technologist, as a member of their creative team, along with UX and strategist. So how much is technology required from a new ad grad as they're getting out into the business? Like, what do you expect today from the creatives?
We still expect the creatives just to have great ideas.
Right.
And, we do pair them, like on the creative floor, we have, the planners, we have digital planners, we have creative technologists, we have all the digital people. So, when a team comes up with an idea like that, they'll say, this is from a team who, they're not going to build it. Right. They go to the creative tech guy, hey, is this possible for us to do it? And tech guy goes, yeah, well, you just do this and this and this. Okay. And then they work together to make it happen. So, from a pure creative standpoint, we still just want great ideas. But again, you need to be curious. You need to be on Facebook and just, you have to be open to those ideas. And then somebody as a team will help you figure it out.
And the reverse role of that, where the creative technologist finds that we could, they get this incredible discovery that, oh my God, we can do this with this piece of software, this interface, and goes to the creative team and says, got a client that's fit with this? Does that happen often?
Oh, yeah, that happens as well. We our head of creative technology, he did a presentation, I guess it was a couple months ago, about, here's some cool things going on. Here's something we built. And we're testing it out right now. Could we use it for a client? And so it is going both ways.
Good dialogue's happening both ways. So what are the skills really needed today for somebody? A digital strategist, a digital planner, and even now this role of a community manager. So what's the greatest skill? Curiosity is going to be the first one. I know it will be the answer, but after that, what's really the big skill that they need to bring to the table?
It depends what it is, but definitely collaboration is the most important skill, because it takes so many more people to do things. It isn't like in the past where, we're just going to make one print ad and that's what it's going to be, it's going to drive you to here and here and here. And so the teams that we create are so much bigger. And so you really got to figure out how you're going to navigate and how you work with one another to make stuff happen.
Which is a great way to sort of segue into another idea of bringing other skills to the table, known as soft skills. One of the things that I certainly learned, part of my discipline and leadership was by playing team sports and that. So how important do you look at the transferable soft skills that somebody can bring from their life into the team?
Well, I think it's important on a few different levels. We talk about advertising IQ, and so it's important to have that high IQ when it comes to advertising and why we do it and how do you get to solutions. But it is the EQ, where we call the emotional quotient, and that's the how do you work with other people. as a leader, can you get other people to follow? Can you convince other people to join your cause? And those skills are more and more important because we are working in larger groups.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Matt Lee. What's going on in the Twitterverse?
We got a lot of tweets coming. We've got tweets from Las Vegas. We've got tweets from our former guest, John Finkelstein. And we do have a few questions that have come in. John Finkelstein says, hi, Judy.
Oh, hi, John.
So
I really like John. I just met him recently, and I wish I'd met him a long time ago.
Awesome. We have a few questions. One is, what do you see as the most important advertising trend or opportunity at the present moment?
Well, whatever the trend or opportunity is, that you shouldn't do it because everybody else is doing it. So
Awesome.
You should move away from that. Whatever we want to do is, we want to, again, we talk about wanting to be the first to do something. That's what we want to do. So you don't want to jump on the trend. We want to be the first to do something.
Key difference between Leo and other agencies, their long relationship with their clients. How does it affect the creative and the strategies that you develop?
Long-term relationships. Well, I think it's really great. I always say that we're really great at marriages at Burnett. We're not great at dating. We might not be the hottest date, like in a pitch, but we're really great in long-term relationships. And I think that what we have the advantage of is knowing what we've done, knowing the past, but always pushing forward and going, what are we going to do next? Or knowing all the problems that we needed to solve or where the opportunities are. Like you get to know your clients' businesses so well that you know where to push. And like in a good marriage, you should always be surprising your clients with something. It's like, hey, you know what? This isn't part of the brief, or you didn't ask for this, but we're thinking this is a really good solve, or we'd like to talk to you about this because we see there's an opportunity. And it is only until you really get to know your client's business that you can start to do that. Does that answer the question?
Oh, that's an awesome answer.
Okay.
More questions?
Yeah, no, we got another one. Sorry.
I'm just filling out the answers here. Sorry. Yeah, great. Sorry about that. There is a trend in the industry towards blurring the lines between creatives and strategists. Copywriter, art directors. Where did that go? Has Leo Burnett brought in the concept of breaking down the silos?
There are no silos, and I would say that we have this thing at work we call One Team, One Dream, and we even created a logo for it because there are no silos. We work as a team, and I showed this picture of an engine, and it has all these different parts and all the little lines that come off and describing what those things are. And I said, we all hold a different tool. We are all specialists at different things, but we're building one thing together. And those lines blur. Like, great ideas come from our strategists. Like, they come up with wicked ideas, and we go, yeah, let's do that. But you still need the creative team to figure it out and execute, and they work together. And so, our account people write headlines, or they have ideas. They'll go, hey, on a brief, they might have a thought starter, and we go, that's a wicked idea. It's the start of something. And so, I can't overemphasize the team build of something. Like, everybody makes the idea better. There isn't this anymore where we're hiding our ideas or, back off. That's not what we do.
Great. We're going to start back with looking at IKEA. A client that you've been working with for a couple of years now. And so we've got two videos we're going to look at. The first one we're going to look at is called Moving Day.
Every July 1st long weekend in Canada, a cultural phenomenon happens. The people of Quebec move. They call it Moving Day. This leads to all kinds of chaos. Imagine 225,000 people in a city of 1.8 million moving all at the same time. There isn't enough of anything. Trucks, movers, even boxes. This year, IKEA helped Quebecers make moving easier with the simple act of providing moving boxes. But not just any moving boxes. These boxes were printed with moving tips, a checklist, a helpful dinner offer at the local IKEA, and of course, a great offer on new IKEA furniture for the new place. To get the boxes into the hands of the people, we created pyramids of boxes at giveaway sites at the store and around town. We printed other boxes with headlines and turned those into media. We clipped them up and people took them away. We also promoted the boxes on radio and took over the radio station so it could play music to get people moving, commercial-free, on the actual day. The results? Visitors were up 14% from the same weekend the previous year, and sales went up 24.5%. That's like sales for an entire extra store. And that's a better moving day for everyone.
So who brought this insight to the table, or this strategy to the table? I mean, I'm married to a Francophone, and I just thought this piece was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And the phenomenon of an entire province, truly the entire province seems to move on one day. Yeah. I mean, if you haven't booked your van today, you're out of luck moving on the 1st. So who brought that to your attention? Because it's different than any other province.
Yeah, I would say, the brief came in from IKEA saying, we'd like to support our Montreal store. What can we do, in the summer? And it was, I think it was our planner who said, there's this crazy thing that happens called Moving Day. It's a great time for us to get involved. There's people moving, and so they do need to get new things. So how do we become part of their move? And I think originally it was going to be just a radio buy. So we came back with this idea of, let's create these moving boxes. Like, if you think about, we just created some cardboard boxes, and you look at the sales that we got, and we just did it again last year because it was such a successful program. We said, we should do it again. This time we added a moving truck that was outfitted to look like a Moving Day box, and you could tweet and have the box come to your house and deliver Moving Day boxes. Wow. You could follow us on Twitter or on Facebook.
Because that was my question. I mean, this to me, seeing this, the logistical nightmare of making sure that their boxes could get to people, that they were in the right places, where people were taking it down. So how big a team was involved in making sure that this all followed through? And was it IKEA people or outsourced to? Yeah,
I think we have an event company help us out, but there are stations, where we make sure there are boxes in key areas. And then last year we added we'll bring some to you as well.
Right. Oh, that's a great piece. The next one is also part of an opening, which is the Richmond store video. So we're going to play that one.
IKEA was opening a new store in Richmond, BC, and they wanted us to get 10,000 people to the opening. But how do we get that many people to show up to the store on a Wednesday morning? Our solution? Coupons have been used to drive people to stores for decades, and they work. But why do they have to be paper? Why can't they be people? So we turned men, women, children, truck drivers, nail salon workers, and everyone else into coupons. Or as we like to call them, human coupons. At the opening, all you needed to bring to get up to 60% off was you. The campaign was promoted through print. We even congratulated people on the birth of their new coupons. We created non-traditional out-of-home with live people within the advertising itself. And we used more traditional out-of-home too. In the week leading up to the store's opening, we hid human coupons all over the Vancouver area. To find them, all you had to do was follow us on Twitter. Once you discovered a coupon's location, you had to hit the streets to find it. When you did, you received up to $1,000 to spend on opening day. And the more people who tweeted the IKEA Richmond hashtag, the more human coupons were released. The IKEA Richmond opening was a massive success. IKEA Richmond became a top trending topic on Twitter in Vancouver. Our Facebook fan base in Vancouver increased by 76%. On opening day, attendance exceeded ambitious objectives by 45%, and total sales smashed objectives by 42%. We even created a traffic jam. But more importantly, we put smiles on the faces of thousands and thousands of coupons that couldn't have been happier.
So massively unique. I mean, where does that come from, and how hard is that idea to sell? Because all these pieces really make me think and feel IKEA. But how hard a sell was that to the client, like, and to understand exactly what you meant?
Oh, it was actually a really easy idea to sell. Like, IKEA, they're an amazing client. Like, they really understand their brand so well, but they also understand creativity and the power creativity has to move people. And so when they saw this idea, they totally got why it would work and why it would be compelling, and all the different pieces. It's just they're really wonderful to work with. So it was an easy sell. And when you see it put together, you go, yeah, of course, it's such an obvious idea.
Yeah, I mean, and the newspaper pieces or the print pieces, and the out of home, everything just fits so beautifully together. And I love the piece where even the walking coupons, little backpack sort of things.
Right.
So we're going to get on something a little bit tough, sort of turn up the heat a little bit on you. Hot topic that has always finds its way into this discussion, and I know you're no stranger to this conversation about women and the success, their success in the advertising industry. I'm proud of the leadership roles in Canada. I mean, it's amazing. Canada's really with yourself, Nancy Vonk, Janet Keston, Christina Yu, Elizabeth Lynn, Karen Howe. I mean, it's Suzanne Pope. The list really moves. So people have difficulty with this conversation and asking the question. Neil French certainly opened a can of worms on the topic. So Kate Gordon asked the question, where are the Donna Drapers of the world? She is the founder of something called the 3% Conference, and has firsthand witnessed women not being given the chance to pitch, not finding their way to the top of the heap. So what are your thoughts exactly on this? And how do you approach the answer to this question?
Why do I keep getting asked this question? It's because I'm a
You're
woman, right?
It is. It's
that
without
is
a
why.
question.
It's a tough one because I get asked this question a lot, and it's really, it's tough because I don't think about it that way. I don't, even as I was growing up in the creative department, I never thought of myself like, I don't go, oh, I'm a woman, and that's why I get passed over because of this or whatever. And maybe I'm naive, but I really believe that it's a meritocracy. Right. Within the creative department, it's like best idea wins, most talented people rise. Like, it is really, I believe in that. And I've been really fortunate to not run into those things. And I think that there is a lot of representation of some really great women in Canada in leadership roles. Could there be more? Yeah, of course there could be more. But, I think that also it is, it's tough because women, it's biological as well that women, there's a biology to it of, if you're going to have kids, you need to take some time off, and that influences what happens to your career. Like, those are realities. That's what happens. I mean, you could just have your baby and go back to work the next month. You could. Yeah, by choice. By choice, and it's all about choices that we make.
But that could be said for any industry with a woman.
I guess so. But I think for me, I'm gender blind, and I'm racially blind, I guess. So I don't really, I never grew up and go, oh, I'm Asian. I am Asian, by the way, in case you haven't noticed. I didn't think, oh, that's gonna hold me back. I just, and again, it might be because I'm naive. I really believe in meritocracy.
And that is a truth of, it is a business that's based on
hopefully
skill. I mean,
and it might not be everywhere, but I've been in the fortunate situation of the places that I've worked at, they've been that way. And it's not to say that it doesn't happen in certain places.
Tiffany Rolfe, who is a group creative director at Co. in New York, told my students this past fall when we went for a visit that women are hardwired to kick ass and nurture at the same time. So it's kind of like, the stretch between those. The advertising business is not known for its nurturing and training because, it's certainly filled with insecurities, et cetera. How can we change the way this industry nurtures the talent within? I would gather things are different at Burnett because when you find somebody, you grow them. But
yeah, that is
the training and nurturing seems to be lost.
It is lost in a lot of agencies, and definitely on the creative side. You see it more in account management for sure. They're more organized. In account management, they go, you're going to be an AE, then you're going to be an AS, and there's a progression, and they teach you and they dole out information, and you grow. In the creative department, we go, hey, you're a good writer. We're going to throw you some projects. You know what? You're going to be a creative director now. It's like, what? Nobody even, I'm not ready. I haven't even been trained. Nobody even told me what I'm supposed to be doing. Right. And next thing you know, you have these accounts. And like, when I became creative director at Burnett, it's like, okay, you're a good writer. You're going to be creative director, and here's your department, and here's your budget. And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing. Don't tell anybody. Right. But from a creative standpoint, we have to get better at training our people. And it is, at Burnett, we're great at that. The junior people, we never send you out. Like, first time I went and made a radio commercial, I went by myself and the producer. And so there I am, I'm sitting in studio, and, with a voiceover patch, our voiceover was in LA and it was a phone patch, and he's yelling at me, and I'm thinking, God, I don't even know what I'm doing, right? And they're like, oh, you just push this button to talk to your talent. What do you want me to say? Like, we send a creative director with a writer to the records. So it's like, okay, this is what you're going to do. Here's how to give direction. There's a training. You just don't send them out.
Is it a time issue over a money issue, the training?
It's definitely, it requires time for sure, but it's an investment. Like if you want your people to grow and to be good, you have to invest the time in doing it.
Yeah, because it's you get lost on I know the same you're saying. It's like all of a sudden you're doing a task that you were never trained for, and you threw that word budget. Just like the minute I heard the word budget and quarterly report.
Yeah, it's just like, here it is. I was like, oh, God.
What do I do with this?
Yeah, what am I going to do with that? Wow, they make that much? It's like, I don't know what to do with that. And it is, there has to be a training of people as they we do reviews, and we go, what do you want to do in a year? Like, and creatives have to start to think about their careers more, about what do I want to do, or I'm happy doing what I'm doing, but just be conscious about it.
Could agents, like, I know that a couple of agencies do have annual, like they get their talent that they see rising stars and bring them in, take them in and have a session with them and show them more of the ropes. Should agencies be encouraged to do more of that?
Yeah, for sure.
The good news is, I look around my classroom, there's a greater number of women than ever before, very smart women trying to break into the biz. What conditions need to be present to guarantee some form of success? And I don't think there's a guarantee of success, but what conditions should they be trying to employ to see a form of success? Does that make any sense?
No, that made no sense.
At all. I mean, there's a lot. Great. Okay, next question.
Yeah.
There's, as you're training, what can you do as you're learning this process to help make sure you're finding your direction? What would you tell a young woman to look to?
You mean in terms of what career they want to get into?
Well, they know they want to work in advertising, they want to be a writer, or they're going into strategy.
Oh, definitely you want mentors, if you can get one. Everybody's really, the problem with agencies right now is we're so busy. Like, people are working crazy hours. But if you can get a mentor, that's amazing. If you can build some relationships. Like, when I was in school, I started working my first year in school. So I worked at this tiny agencies, and I wrote research papers. And but it was an ad agency, and so I met tons of people. So you just and once you're in the business, you're in. Right. So once you make those connections, people want to root for you. They want to help you out. Like, there's really nice people in the business. It's just hard meeting them.
And there's a lot more pay forward today than there ever has been. I mean, I know like 15 years ago, there wasn't as much pay forward. I think that there was a different element, and now I'm seeing more people that are willing to pay forward with the young talent.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, and just one other thing, when you were talking about, you know, portfolio nights, when we were talking about that, every opportunity you get to meet creative people or people in the industry or show your book, you got to go. Like, you know, like if only 5 people go out of 19, it's like those other 14 are not interested in being advertising. Like every time you get an opportunity, you're going to go meet somebody. You should go.
So when it's knock, answer. Every time when there's a knock on the door, answer.
Yeah,
everything. Network. Get out there.
Yeah, network.
We're going to look at another piece, The Walking Dead installation at Union Station.
Oh, right, yeah.
And so let's take a look at that.
The Walking Dead, one of AMC's most popular TV shows, is set in a world overrun by zombies. To get people excited about its return on February 10th, we created the Rotting Finger Countdown. Every day leading up to February 10th, one finger was hacked off the hands, counting down the days to the return of the show. And for one day, we added to the rotting hands with some rotting zombies. Though we only had one installation in one Canadian train station, we amplified its impact by creating the hashtag TWDFeb10 and asked people to tweet pictures of themselves in front of the countdown for a chance to win one of the 10 2-foot-long severed fingers. As word got out, more and more people came to see the countdown. Superheroes, newlyweds, dogs, the dead, even people who couldn't make it showed up, all for a chance to win a gruesome, severed zombie finger. News of the countdown quickly spread across the nation and the globe, in blogs, social media, newspapers, and the TV news. It generated over 900,000 impressions in Toronto's biggest media outlets, and over 18 million impressions on Twitter. And when the show finally returned on February 10th, The Walking Dead set a ratings record.
Need him to not leave me.
Oh, we're back. We're having a whole other conversation here. Sorry about that. What were the logistics of that installation? Like, who needed to be part of that build? Certainly, you know, the media itself is, I mean, that isn't media. That's something you created from scratch.
Yeah.
And how do you calculate the spend on that for the space?
Well, you know, it was first of all, it was a really short time frame, so we really had to do this really quickly. And it's funny, when you're building these things now, even internally, you go, who does this? Like, so you go to your print production, then you go to your broadcast production, and you mash them together, and you go, between these two departments, you know how to get this done. You know, we know how to secure location spaces, and you know what those things cost. And so, again, it's a team of people. You just go, here's the answer. I need you, and you, and
so just make it so.
Go make it happen. And oh yeah, we only have a week to do it.
One of my students wanted to know, what was that thing made out of? Like, what was they didn't get
It's
down
like
to...
a paper mache thing, and it's so beautiful when you look at it up close. The craftsmanship is just, it's unbelievable. I don't know what it was, like foam and a whole bunch of wood was in there. It was so well done, beautiful.
Was there a follow-up with the winners of the pieces at all, like to see like what?
We sent them out. We sent them the fingers. I don't know if we got their photos back yet, but we did ask them to send us a photo back.
Yeah, because that was just absolutely crazy.
Yeah, it was
love
fun.
that. Yeah, I had to take Go Train, and I think it was during Ad Week, and I saw this thing like going, what the hell is like? It really was took your breath away.
Yeah.
I mean, nice space. So, Matt, let's go back to Matt for what's going on Twitter.
Yeah, we do have quite a few questions. What advice does Judy have for creative directors getting the most from their teams?
Getting the most from your team. Well, that's a hard one. I mean, there's so many different things you have to do to get the most out of your teams, and it depends on your team, and it depends on what, you know, every team has their own vibe, so you're finding different ways to motivate them or different ways to help them or inspire them. And sometimes for a team, I'll give them thought starters, or I'll send them some reference on, here's what I'm thinking, or here's some places to start looking. And then for other teams, it's like, I could just say something as simple as, it's a good, that's a merit. That's a good, solid merit. And that'll piss some team off and go, well, that's not good enough. We want it to be a goal. It's like, good, that's the push. Right. So it depends on the team, but I try different things. Depends on how much help they need. Chair, whip, is that ever needed? Like how hard is it to handle creative people? What's the greatest challenge in handling creative people? I think, I think I'm pretty lucky. I think I have some really motivated teams, and they really want to do great work. And, sometimes I think I would say more for new people who come into Burnett. When you come from a different agency, we have different systems, we have different expectations. So maybe if you're used to doing something 15 times, you don't know that we're going to make you do it 50 times. Right. And then after we sell it, we're going to make you do it more. And then, like, one of the things I'm notorious for is when we sell a spot, for example, I'm going to make you rewrite it even after it's sold. And then when we're on set, I'm going to ask you to try some things out. And maybe when we're in the recording session and the client's sitting there, I'm going to make you rewrite it again. And I'll try to get the client to agree to that version. But it's the crafting and crafting and crafting, and it's those things for new people coming into Burnett that I think is surprising. They're like, oh, okay, that's what you mean. Yeah, it ain't finished until it's perfect in that. Anything else, Matt?
We had a question regarding sort of ageism in the industry as youth comes in and older folks are sort of pushed out. Do you notice that there's a sort of
older folks being pushed out? That's such an awful image.
Wow. Soil green image.
So what's the question? Sorry.
The question is, do you believe that it's an issue within the industry? I'll recite it straight off the Twitter feed. You've touched on life experiences linking to broader insights. In your opinion, are there any issues with age in the industry?
The only issue with age is you just have to be relevant. You have to stay relevant. And it's funny because, I was talking about this topic with someone recently. I can't remember what the context was, but how there are no old people in advertising. And in the US, you see a lot more creative directors who are older. And I think you have to be relevant and you have to stay on top of what the latest, newest thing is. And usually that comes from the young and new people coming into the business. They're on top of, especially with technology. There's so much technology and things and social platforms coming up. You have to stay on top of it and care about it. And it isn't like, that's for young people. Well, as soon as you say that, you're already done in advertising. So the ageism is just, you got to listen to music and know who's hot, and just, it's all that stuff that, fashion comes from, and entertainment is always reflecting what the latest, greatest thing is. And if you're not on top of it, then you kind of needed to be out.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I've answered the question, like as a teacher and mentor in that, it's like, staying relevant. If I'm going to talk the talk, I've got to walk the walk.
Yeah.
And so, keeping myself relevant to the industry is critical. And that's how I answer that question to people when they ask about ageism. Is there is no age. Age is, it's a number.
Right.
It's what do you feel in your soul? How do you behave? What do you like? How do you get motivated in that? I want to ask. There was another question that we had tweeted in earlier. How important are presentation skills for young Adlanders as they get in?
Well, we help young creatives with their presentation skills. Definitely when we interview someone and they seem to really be naturally articulate, that really is impressive. Right. So, when you interview and they're showing you their book and they're selling it and they're making sense and sounding really smart, we already think, wow, that's that's a well-rounded package. So it's not vital because, again, we'll see a book that is just genius, and you might just be the person who likes to work in the background with genius ideas. That's great too.
Yeah, because you'll have somebody else that can come in
Sure,
and pitch
for
the crap
sure.
out of it. These questions they're going to be short, but the answers, are up to you on it. Are you competitive?
Yes.
How?
How competitive?
Yeah.
Like, you mean in terms of a measurement?
A measurement and how? Yeah.
I'm super competitive, and I would say that there's a great quote from Moneyball. If you saw that movie, it was something like, I hate to lose more than I like to win. Like, I hate losing, like pitches, and like, I just hate losing. So I'm competitive. I'm competitive in that way.
How do you relate being competitive to success?
I think you have to be competitive. I think you have to want to win to be successful. Like, otherwise you're just like, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah.
Like, that's good enough. That was nice. And
good enough sucks, man.
Yeah, so you need to have that drive to want to be more. And I do have to do a shout out to David Oakley, because I know that he tweeted that I did win the football pool one week in this American pool I'm in, and he still owes me $100, and I haven't received it yet. So I did have to say that.
$100, please.
$100, American.
And we're keeping $20 to Seneca for,
Sure,
the time
whatever
we've given you.
Yeah, that's advertising time.
I did a chat with Alex Boguski, actually the same day you did a very similar chat with him down at the Metro Convention Center. So I had him come in and talk with a group of students, and one of the things we wanted to establish is, what is it you need? So he said he would rather hire somebody with passion than experience. And it was kind of grounded in the idea that, if I can give you experience, and experience will grow you, but if you don't have the passion. So what are your thoughts on passion?
It's funny, we look for three things. It's passion is definitely, otherwise you shouldn't even be in the business. Talent is something that we look for, and attitude. Those three things are a combo. Like, attitude, you can't, sometimes we get interns in, and I was telling you earlier, we had an intern who was supposed to be with us for 2 months, and within 2 days he pissed everybody off. And it's such a vocal group of people at Burnett. They'll come into my office and go, that dude's got to go. Just because his attitude, he was entitled and he wasn't helpful, and I don't want to do that. And it's like, he's got to go. So attitude is really big. Passion, definitely. You've got to love being in the business.
So how could you measure that? What is a sign that somebody's passionate? Is there something that is a real telltale sign?
There's a couple things. One is when we ask you to do something, and you can see this in the different people that we can ask a task of, like, hey, can you source us some photos of dogs, for example, for a thing? And you might have somebody come back with, oh, here are the 5 that I found, or here's like 150. It's just the diligence and that you want to over deliver on everything. That's passion. That's like, I'm going to go over and above on everything. And so that's also the pursuit of ideas of, I'm not going to show you one idea, I'm going to show you like a ton of ideas.
And that's a true measure for you.
Yeah.
Cool. Has there ever been a campaign, or is there a campaign, either current or past, that you kind of sit back and go, God, I wish I did that?
Yeah, there's tons of them.
Any one particular?
There's so many.
Wow, I didn't expect to hear that.
Yeah, no, of course, there's tons of stuff we see and we just go, that's so smart, it's so good. There's tons of them. The field band you're wearing, that's one of those big platform ideas that are just like, it's so smart and insightful, and it's not an advertising solve.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is an advertising solve. When I think about art and copy, because I'm a copywriter, I loved Diesel's Smart and Stupid.
Right.
The Be Stupid was so smart and so stupid,
Yeah.
and I love the tension of that. I love stuff like that. There's so much I can go on. There's
Cool.
tons of stuff.
As you sort of, if we, this is going to sound morbid possibly, so you look back on your career, and we're going to say,
I'm dying?
No. No, God
Okay.
forbid. We review your career. What would be the one thing that you're most proud of, sort of maybe even on your epitaph, you know, like Judy John was most proud of, to date?
I always, and I say this all the time, and I write it on my self-review. This is going to sound really weird. I can't even believe I'm saying it out loud. But even in my own review, it says, what do you want? What do you aspire? What do you want to do? And I always write, be a good human. And so it's beyond the advertising, but I also try to bring that into advertising. It's just to be a good person,
right,
in what I'm doing.
So it really isn't going to be about a single piece. It's going to be the way you've rolled in your career,
It's the way I
person.
behaved and the way I treated other people and the way I conducted myself and the type of work that we do. One of the things I always talk about at work is be useful. And our brands to be useful, like our advertising to be useful, like be useful in people's lives. Not like, let's not just crank stuff out. Let's be thoughtful about it.
What keeps you curious?
I don't know. I'm just curious by nature. I just love, just what if? What if we did this? What if we did that? I love the possibility of it. That's the fun part.
Is there anything you doubt? Do you have any doubts about anything?
I doubt everything.
You doubt everything. Yeah, no, it's the way
What don't you doubt?
Yeah, exactly. Like nothing on face value. It's like there could be more behind that.
Yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
behind
yeah.
the curtain.
Yeah.
Crystal ball time. It's almost impossible to ask 5 years, but I'm going to
No,
ask
you
5
can't.
years. But where do you see this industry rolling as it rolls forward?
No idea.
No idea.
No idea. Like if you think about how much technology is changing, like even, you used to be able to plan 5 years out. Then you go, and then a couple years ago you go, maybe we can plan 3 years out. Now I'm thinking, I just want to I'm planning, maybe next year or 18 months. And even within that, I know that we're going to have to evolve some things and change some things.
So you can't have that 5-year plan anymore.
You can't, no. You try to, you'd like to.
And you'd like to author more of it than the past where you projected, but now you want to author it along the way.
Yeah, exactly. I think that in looking at the future, you just have to remember who you are. And like for brands, like, James Reddy, we remember the heart of James Reddy, even though we're going to move into other campaigns or change. And, this same with IKEA. IKEA has such a strong essence of who they are, but they're going to change and they're going to do new things.
Yeah, the DNA is always going to be there.
It should, yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you could give this industry overall any challenge for, moving forward, what would that challenge be?
I don't know. I guess it would be, again, it comes back to my mantra of being useful in people's lives. Like, even though we make advertising, it should provide an entertainment or an informational, we shouldn't just be creating stuff.
Don't just create crap.
Yeah,
Create
like just
something.
don't push it out.
Cool.
That's what I would say.
Anything else you want to close with? Any last thoughts? This has been a blast for me.
No, I'm really happy to be here, and it's always, I always want to give back and try and inspire some people to want to be in advertising or stay in advertising, or at least think it's some noble profession. So hopefully somebody thinks.
Somebody got something.
Someone got something
Somebody's
out of
drinking our
this.
Kool-Aid, right?
Yes, something. If I imparted anything, that would really help me in the being a good human part.
Well, Judy, this has been amazing because I've admired you and your talent and the way you have worked with people. You have a number of graduates that are working at Burnett, from our program, and I see what they've evolved into as people, and I know that comes from the root of having great leadership. So this for me has been a privilege, an honor to engage with you, and I hope we can do this again someplace down the road.
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
No, thanks for having me here. And yes, I do have a lot of your students, so I will say that even though you say stuff in class and people probably think, oh, he's going to go off on that thing again, I think that you have a lot of wisdom because I have some of your students.
And they're working, huh?
And they're great.
Thank you, Judy. It really has been great to have you here tonight. Thanks.
Thank you.
And we're probably going to make sure that Matt makes sure your taxi is still waiting at the front door.
Great.
So I think he's running out the door right now. It's already taken care of. So that's it. We're going to put a wrap on episode 3 of Seneca College's Creative Advertising TLC program. We hope that we're going to continue this down the road. I would again thank Judy John, our wonderful guest. It's been a privilege to do some thinking, some learning, some connecting, some great insights. I also want to thank some other people, starting with my wonderful and very inspiring chair, Marianne Mirando, who has bought into some of my harebrained schemes and ideas, and she's been a leading supporter of making sure that this series actually took place. And the entire AdTLC program, she helped make that possible. Special thanks and shout out go to our dean, Mark Jones, who was definitely supportive of this effort. Big thanks go to Blair Richardson and Alex Hall, the faculty of the broadcasting program here at Seneca, who has assembled an absolutely amazing team of students who worked behind the scenes to put this program together. They have made this look professional. They've made me even look somewhat professional, and God knows they've made it really easy for me to look good and sound good. I also want to thank our digital masters who made the series possible to connect with you online, each episode live and then ultimately archived for the future, Stephen Lynn and Adrian Klemenko. I'm sure I'm going to be leaving some folks off that thank you list, but thanks go out to them. I also want to give a special shout out to my assistant and research who's kept the conversation alive on Twitter, and that is Matt Lee, and I'd be remiss not to say a future copywriter in this industry. My name is Anthony Kalamut. It's been my pleasure to be part of all of this. I am a strong believer that we have a very bright future with the young talent that is being groomed here at Seneca and all the other colleges that are offering advertising programs. So it's a bientôt, or until next time. Thank you very much for watching AdTLC.